We have to talk about something today that is going to make some of the people in our audience extremely uncomfortable, because it turns out that Donald Trump disproportionately appealed to cognitively challenged voters, to voters likely to perform poorly on intellectual ability tests. Now, I want to issue a disclaimer here because I know what's going to happen, Pat. We know what the response will be. If you are a so-called race realist who wants to just go where the evidence takes us, if you're in the facts don't care about your feelings crowd, if you're against claiming to be offended, to shut down debate because being offended isn't an argument, I'm glad you're here, because you then must allow the facts to lead you where they may. And they lead down the path of Trump voters being as a whole less intellectually capable than Hillary Clinton supporters on a totally standard test known as a solid indicator of intellectual ability. This doesn't mean every Trump supporter is dumb. This doesn't mean that some smart people don't support Donald Trump. It just means that in total, in the aggregate, Donald Trump was disproportionately supported by voters with lesser intellectual ability and more cognitive challenges than Hillary Clinton. The research team was led by Yoav Ganzach of Tel Aviv University. Now, if you're a race realist, you should really believe these results because Jews supposedly are the smart ones, according to the race realists. And we've got a guy from Tel Aviv University named Yoav Ganzach who's going to give us the results.
This is the most credible source of information on this. How can you argue against that?
For the race realists,
Absolutely,
of course.
yeah.
The study analyzed data from the American National Election Studies report, and it points out that, quote, intellectual factors played an important role in the 2016 election. These results suggest that the 2016 presidential election, U.S. presidential election, had less to do with party affiliation, income, or education, and more to do with basic cognitive ability. The subjects of the study were given a basic verbal abilities test, which is widely accepted as a pretty good indicator of overall cognitive ability. And the Trump supporters were under-equipped relative to Hillary Clinton voters. Higher verbal ability, education, cognitive ability were associated with supporting Obama over Romney in 2012 and with Hillary over Trump in 2016. This is interesting on a few levels. First of all, we were told Trump won because of economic anxiety. The data now show that that was mostly an empty explanation. It wasn't a good explanation. However, we do see evidence that fear of losing social status as well as racist and sexist beliefs were positively correlated with support for Donald Trump. We also know that racism and sexism are affiliated with lack of intellectual capacity overall. That's an interesting data point. We also have another study unrelated to this one that points similarly, which says the Democrats who chose to cross party lines and vote for Trump were disproportionately the ones who engaged in lower levels of critical thinking. Hello, another data point that suggests that Tel Aviv University study, that the Tel Aviv University study is onto something. So I'm ready for the hate mail. David, you guys are never going to win by insulting Trump voters. I'm telling you this because it's apparently the reality based on the facts we have. The reality doesn't care about how you feel about these results. What does it tell us about winning elections, though? That's really the question, because we know that playing off of people's basic fear-driven instincts works really well. We've known that for a while. People are not going to make informed analyses. They are overwhelmingly going to react instinctively. That's not new. There's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. I interviewed David Dunning about it some years ago. The Dunning-Kruger effect references people who lack the cognitive ability to understand why they misunderstand something. So the question is, what do? We know that things are never as simple as simpletons make them seem. We know that real life is complex. It's mostly gray area. But is that just a loser's path? Look at John Kerry versus George Bush, for example. I'll put aside the potential irregularities in Ohio during that election. Do we play the game to win? I don't know the answer. I really don't know the answer here, and I want to hear from you about it because I don't know what we had a call about this last week, something along the lines of, should Democrats use the tactics of the right to win in order to then actually do a progressive agenda, Or are we, quote, stooping to their level if we do that? And, if we don't start winning, things are going to get way worse. So I think at a certain point, from a purely pragmatic perspective, you've got to say, we need to start winning, at least using the tactics that we know work. Today's show was made possible in part by Psyon Games and their new game for phone and tablet called Antidote, which is an award-winning strategy game that's all about using vaccines to defend the human body from bacteria and viruses. It's fast-paced. The graphics are amazing. The game has actually been commended by the World Health Organization because it has a mission to fight back against anti-vaccine misinformation. So the game is educational and fun to play. Download Antidote for free on your phone or tablet in the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store, and have a blast using vaccines and the body's immune system to fight off deadly diseases. And don't forget to search for Psyon Games on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, I've put the links under the video.